Well, thank you for joining us tonight for our Sustainable Ramona Water Conservation Series. It's the first of a series that we hope to continue on in the next couple months on different sorts of topics on all different areas. We're hoping to have another series in November to focus on making houses and businesses sustainable. And we'll look at getting rid of gas to convert to electricity in order to use saving devices such as heat pumps and solar energy, and looking at solar systems and battery backups and all sorts of different things. So this isn't the only topic that we're interested in. We're just interested in a broad range of sustainable lifestyle scenarios. So I wanted to also announce that tomorrow night we had lined up a speaker for converting chlorine pools to freshwater pools, and he wasn't able to make his commitment for tomorrow night. So just to let you know, this will be the last night that we have this series. And what I'd like to do now is to introduce to you a master gardener, Greg Alder, who has is a master gardener with the University of California Cooperative Extension in San Diego County. And he also has a blog called The Yard Post, which I subscribe to, and how I got to know about him. And it's a website that helps gardeners in Southern California grow food at home. So without any more ado, I'll introduce Greg so he can get to your topic.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Okay. So hi, everybody. It's what, the second day of fall? Yeah, second day of fall. Summer's over. But I'm still kind of in summer mode. So apologies. A lot of this is real summer related and heat related, but it looks like we're gonna start cooling down, at least for the next week or so. But let's talk about getting more fruits and vegetables from less water. So the idea is we're looking for ways to use our water more efficiently and effectively in our food gardens. Why would we want to do that? Well, if for nothing else, we can save some money. And then also using water well, that means not too much, not too little, grows the healthiest, most productive fruit trees and vegetables. So let's do it. One of my favorite phrases and practices in order to use be very careful about not wasting water, especially and watering enough, is to walk the lines, as they say. What that means is try to watch your irrigation system run. So whenever it's on, try to just take a walk down wherever the sprinklers are, wherever the drip lines are running, and have a look. You will almost always find something. You'll find a drip emitter that's clogged. You'll find a sprinkler that's not throwing the way it should, or the sprinkler head's broken off or something. And one way to do this easily is to schedule your irrigation system to run when you're around and you can watch. So I know some people say that it's a good idea to, for example, run your irrigation like in the middle of the night or in the early morning, because evaporation is not an issue then or something. And that's not necessarily a bad idea, but I'll tell you, in terms of being able to catch problems that are going to affect your fruit trees and your vegetables, I think that the better time of day to water is whenever you're around, so you can watch the system run. I've caught so many problems myself just by walking the lines and watching the system run. Another thing that can really help us in watering efficiently is knowing how much water to apply for fruit trees and for vegetables. Now with fruit trees, it varies more according to different types of fruit trees, but vegetables are almost all the same. They all need about the same amount of water. It doesn't vary that much. In the summer, just like a handy thing to keep in mind is vegetables generally need, I'm talking about Ramona specific here, or any inland Southern California location. they generally need roughly a 1/4 inch of water a day. That's per square foot. How much water is that per square foot? It's about 3 cups of water per square foot. So, how much would that be for a particular plant? Well, here's a big zucchini plant, and that thing is about 4 square feet. So if you've got a mature zucchini plant, it probably needs about 12 cups of water or 3/4 of a gallon each day to be growing well and giving you good, healthy, fat zucchinis. Don't plant more than one. Um, and then if you have a little plant, like maybe you just put in some seedlings. These are some cauliflower seedlings that I put in like a week ago. You need a lot less water, of course. How much? Well, if you one handy way that I use just to space out plants is if you spread your pinky and your thumb apart, it's about 6 inches. And so if that plant is about 6 inches wide, say half a square foot, it's going to need about a cup and a half worth of water per day in the summer. The challenge becomes, and I know if you grow vegetables, you've definitely experienced this. The challenge becomes watering different plants, say that big mature zucchini, next to some new seedlings that you put in at the same time on the same line or on the same irrigation system. It's like you either have to underwater the zucchini or you have to overwater the little cauliflower seedlings if you just run your system, you know? So there are some sort of hacks to get around it. It's not easy. There's no magic bullet, but the best ways I know to get around it is to just either hand water temporarily. So for example, you could run your system long enough to take care of the little plants and then hand water some extra on the bigger plants until the little plants get bigger. And if you have everything roughly the same size, then you can once again let your system just run for the same amount of time on everyone. Or what I also do is I'm talking about vegetables here. So, oh, by the way, that's a picture of my son in his Halloween costume a few years ago, watering some potatoes. If you I water my vegetables on drip lines, and what I've found really useful is putting a little shutoff valve at the beginning of each drip line, because then you can adjust, you can shut off each section of your vegetable garden. And so if you have one section that needs more water than the other, you turn on the system to run, and then maybe after 15 minutes, you turn off part of it that only has like small plants and that don't need as much water. And I find that really helpful in not wasting water by overwatering and sort of giving different plants different amounts of water.
Greg, this is Beth. I see the words, but I don't see a picture. I just see white, so I don't know if other people don't see the picture that you were just referring to.
Oh, really?
Right.
Has that been for all of the slides, or?
No, just this one, but now it just came up.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Do you see a nectarine tree on this one?
Yep, I see the pictures now.
Okay, cool. That would be boring. No pictures. Just my face and some words.
We're good to go now.
Okay. So how much water fruit trees needs? Like I said, it depends on the type, but I try to keep a rule of thumb in mind that works for most kinds of trees in the summer, and that is, I just have it sort of memorized. It's 2, 5, 10, 15, 50, 10, 50, 15, 100. What in the world does that mean? Here's what it means. It means if a fruit tree is 2 feet wide, like 2 feet in diameter, which is about as wide as your shoulders, it needs about 2 gallons of water each week. If it's about 5 feet in diameter, which is a little, less or around as far as as wide as your wingspan, it needs about 10 gallons of water a week in the summer. If it's 10 feet in diameter, 50 gallons a week of water in the summer, and 15 feet in diameter, 100 gallons of water per week in the summer. Now that's a rule of thumb. It's not precise, and it varies according to a lot of different situations. One way in which it varies is, like I said, according to the kind of fruit tree. Avocados need more water than all other fruit trees that I'm aware of. And if you go down in rank, citrus would be second highest water use, and deciduous fruit trees like peaches, plums, apricots, nectarines, apples, they need the lowest of those 3 groups in terms of how much water per week. So, for example, using that rule of thumb list, you would want to give avocados at least that much in the summer, but you could give a peach tree less than that much, and you would probably still be growing very fine peaches. So the challenge, just like with vegetables, is how do you water different trees, different fruit trees with slightly different needs on the same line if you're, watering them not by hand, but with an irrigation system. That tree in the bottom right is a pluot tree, so it's deciduous, and it's gonna need a little less water over the course of the summer than that tree at the top, which is a mango tree. One thing you can do is use adjustable sprinklers. That's a little adjustable micro sprinkler in the photo at the bottom. You could also use bubblers that are adjustable. So you could just make one bubbler put out more water than the other, according to which tree you're watering. You can also use different drip emitters. You can either use more emitters on one tree than another, or you could use different size, different volume, different output emitters on different trees. So that's a way to get around that for fruit trees. But some fruit trees are so tough, especially as they get older, that you might need to irrigate them very little, if at all. Figs, pomegranates, and grapes are the 3 that come to mind. In the top right, that's a picture of my pomegranate trees that I do not irrigate at all. I've never watered it in the summer, and it still produces plenty of pomegranates. Here, if you drive around, especially the Ramona area, you'll see quite a few sort of feral pomegranate trees that don't get any irrigation, and they're doing fine. They're loaded with pomegranates. Same with grapes. Those are grapes along my fence. I do water those grapes, but I don't water them much. I water them very little, and I think they're about ready to go on no water. I think next year I might even try cutting off the water entirely for those guys and see how they do. Those are just these are just some trees that are so suited to our Mediterranean climate and low rainfall, or sorry, no summer rainfall and even low winter rainfall climate, that they do well without much irrigation. Even some other trees might not need as much irrigation as you'd think. For example, as much as that rule of thumb that I mentioned earlier. This, for example, is an avocado tree. It's an old avocado tree that has, no specific dedicated irrigation on it.
Greg, this doesn't have the picture with it either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. This is the first one without.
Okay, let me go like this, like this.
There we go. That's
It's-
that's the grapes and the pomegranate.
Am I back?
Yep. Mhm.
Oh,
You're back now.
so do you see a picture now
I see a picture now.
of an avocado tree?
Uh, well, it doesn't look like an avocado. It's a tree.
Oh, okay. If you see a tree with a blue sky behind it,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
okay. It's then I'm pretty sure you're looking at what I'm looking at. So
Okay.
that's an old avocado tree, and
Oh.
it has a road on the left side. It has a sidewalk and a parking lot on the right side, and has a couple little strips of grass. And so that grass is getting watered, and the avocado is eking out enough uh, moisture from whatever's left over from the grass irrigation to do just fine. And so I use this as an illustration just to say, like, if you have a fruit tree that's, say, within a lawn or near a lawn, you probably need to water that fruit tree a lot less than you would need to water it if it were standing alone, because that fruit tree is going to be drinking from whatever you're irrigating nearby as well. Okay. Another way to get more fruits and vegetables from less water is to get rid of the low performers, or the plants that you just aren't using as much as you thought you would. For example, did you? I can't imagine anyone needing more than one zucchini plant unless they're a farmer. You know, everyone's made that mistake of planting more than one zucchini, and so cut it out. Stop watering that, and cut it out and put something else there that you're going to eat. Maybe you have an old and unproductive apricot tree. Cut it out. Put a new. You know, all fruit trees, a lot of especially a lot of those apricots, peaches, plums, and such, they're not that long lived. And so if your tree's 15-ish years old, it might be passing its productive years, and you ought to cut it down and replace it with something that is going to give you more return on your water investment money. That photo, if you can see it, hopefully you can see it, is actually an avocado tree that I cut down earlier this year. It's a variety called Nimlio, and it looks beautiful, right? But it hadn't flowered, and I think I gave it 4 or 5 years. It never flowered, let alone fruited, and so I gave it the axe, and I'm using that. So how does from less water? Well, then you've got that water that you can use on another plant that is going to produce for you. And by the way, any fruit tree, as long as it's suited to your yard's climate, should be giving you oodles of fruit. Your problem should not be a lack of fruit. Your problem should be protecting that fruit from the birds and the squirrels and the possums who want to eat it. As long as you choose your fruit tree right and give it a moderate amount of care and water, you should get overwhelmed with fruit. So now this is Ramona specific, or just like inland Southern California specific in general, but citrus, that's an orange tree in my yard. Citrus is just so suited for this area. I mean, if you have a citrus tree that isn't loaded, cut it down, get another citrus tree, because they should be loaded. Grapes, I mean, grapes, there's a reason that this is a wine growing, a wine grape growing region. Plums and pluots, persimmons. We've got a persimmon farm around here. Figs, pomegranates, those things they should be giving you bushels of fruit. but there's a possibility actually that you can have too much fruit. One way to use water efficiently is to not be growing a giant fruit tree that makes so much fruit that you can't use. One solution for that problem is just using the loppers and keeping it down to size. The tree at the top is a lime tree. In my yard, I keep it to like chest height. I think it's around 9 years old now. I keep it to chest height, and it still makes more limes than we can even use. Um, uh, Same with a lemon. I would expect that no single family needs a full-sized lemon tree. There's no chance you're going to use all those lemons, and you can only give away so many to your friends and neighbors. Keep it pruned down to a lemon bush. Same with the mandarin. If you have a big like tangerine mandarin tree, yikes, those things can make so much fruit. Keep it pruned down. The principle being, the smaller the tree, the fewer leaves it has, the less water it's using. And so you're saving water, and you can plant, say, another tree if you want. Or you can just keep your money in the bank. Some other trees that you might keep pruned down are like a pear. This is a little pear tree in our yard. Right now it's, I don't know, maybe 7 feet tall, but it's loaded. You can get a lot of fruit off of a small tree. This is a nectarine tree in our yard, which also produces a lot every year, and I keep it pruned down to around 7 feet tall, just as high as I can reach with my loppers. And we wouldn't wish for any more nectarines than it makes. So one more, thinking about fruit trees, another way to like sort of get as much as you want but not more than you want is to have multiple kinds of fruit trees. And one way to do that is you can buy what's called a multi-grafted fruit tree. They often come like 3, 4, or even 5 different types of fruit trees on one rootstock, one trunk. This is just one in my yard that I happen to graft myself, but you can buy these types of trees. So it's a nectarine, which they're generally ripe in June, and then the other half of the tree, which you can see in that picture showing the pink blooms, that's the peach bloom. The peaches on that tree are ready in July. So rather than just having a single tree with 100 nectarines all ripe within like 2 or 3 weeks, we've got like half the tree. Actually, it's more like 2/3 of the tree nectarines in June, and then a third of the tree makes peaches. So that spreads it out, and it's still only one tree technically. You could also plant a couple of trees very close together, which it's the same idea, but just like a slightly different application of getting more trees in a smaller space. So these are my apple trees, and on the left is a pink lady, on the right is a Fuji, and you can't see it very well, but there's actually a Gala apple behind them. So it's like a triangle, and the trunks are about 3 feet apart. And so it's sort of becoming the trees. The trees are still fairly young, but it's becoming like a single apple tree with 3 different varieties. That's nice because Gala is generally ripe. We eat the Galas like in August. The Fujis we're just starting on now. They're usually late September. And then the pink ladies are more like Halloween, November, even through the end of the year. All right. Another way to get more fruits and vegetables from less water is to grow them together. It might sound kind of strange, like how would you use less water just by growing them together? But it does somehow seem to happen. I've done it so many times all over the place, and somehow when you sort of group these vegetables growing next to or under the fruit trees, you can somehow get away with using less water than if you had them separated out. In maybe it's because they raise the humidity more when they're all together in a cluster, or maybe it's because the tree is slightly shading the vegetables sometimes. I'm not really sure. But what I know is that it happens because I've seen it happen so many times. This picture here is actually a macadamia nut tree in my yard and a giant pumpkin vine growing under it. And there are also some sunflowers there. But I've done it with cucumbers and watermelon and cantaloupes too. And strawberries grow very well under fruit trees. In fact, if I go back to the apples, you might be able to see that there are a couple of strawberry plants under the apple trees. And you can grow potatoes under fruit trees very well too. Real, like sort of linked to that or very similar is growing some plants in less than full sun. So if a plant is in full sun, like all day sun, it's going to use a maximum amount of water.
We don't have a picture here again.
No picture? Okay. Let me just do this and see if it comes up.
Yep, now I see it. What's the one that you had on the last picture?
Okay. So you see raspberries now?
No, I see the one where you have the cluster with the looks like maybe a squash plant and then a fruit tree and then.
Oh, okay.
It's the one the picture that you just talked about.
The macadamia nut, and there we go.
Yeah, there we go. There's the raspberries.
Oh, okay. What a funny computer. All right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, let me know if that happens again for sure. I think what fixes it is if I skip ahead one and come back. So anyway, all right. So raspberries now, right? Okay. So some plants can still produce very well without all day sun. Some plants really need all day sun to be most productive and healthiest and everything. But there are a number of plants, especially in inland Southern California, where it's plenty hot in the summer and the sun is really intense. There are some plants that actually grow better with a little bit of like afternoon shade in the summer. Here are some raspberries in my yard that I have growing just on the east side of a big orange tree. So they get afternoon shade, but morning sun. And they really like that. They don't like full sun all day as much. And they require a lot more water if I put them in full sun all day. Another plant that does not like full sun all day, in the summer especially, is lettuce. In the warmer times of year, spring, summer, fall, if you give it just a little bit of shade, and then of course you're going to need to use less water. This is some lettuce in my yard this summer that's growing under a little banana plant. And then, well, here are some peppers. I just put up some shade cloth, some 30% shade cloth over the top of those peppers. So they get like morning.
We need a picture here.
All right, thanks. Did it come up?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the 30% shade cloth over the pepper plants. They get morning sun, they get a little bit of shade in the afternoon, and they get a little bit of shade basically the whole second half of the day, because especially big fruited peppers like bell peppers or poblanos, they'll get sunburned on hot days. And so you give them just a little bit of shade in the second half of the day, and you can use a little bit less water, and you get higher quality fruit as well. Cherry tomatoes, I just should say, they'll grow very well in less than full day sun too. All right, here I'm going to skip ahead and come back. Do you see grapes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. One last plant that I've learned can do surprisingly well in less than a full day of sun are grapes. I just know this because I have grapes growing on the east side of my house. So they get like exactly a half day worth of sun. They're shaded all afternoon, and they produce oodles of grapes. And so in fact, now I'm not telling you that you can necessarily do this, but I actually don't irrigate these grapes at all. I gave them some water their first year or two, but I don't irrigate these grapes at all, and I still get a lot of fruit from them. My guess though is that their root system is very expansive, and they're sucking some water from some other nearby plants. So I'm not saying you can necessarily get tons of grapes with no irrigation, but you might. Okay, so why is this? Now I'm talking about Ramona specifically. Why can so many plants do very well with less than full sun all day? Because we are a sunny place. They don't call this the Valley of the Sun for nothing. I was driving down Highway 67 last week, or earlier this week, I think it was. And that is Mount Woodson on the right side. Can you see the picture? I hope you can see the picture.
Yes.
Okay, so that's Mount Woodson on the right side. And that is the marine layer, which has covered up everything, including Poway and Escondido and Scripps Ranch and everything, except it hasn't reached Ramona. That happens a lot. The marine layer is like at 1,000 feet, and it just runs into the hills right there near Mount Woodson and stops. And so we've got full sun from daybreak, but other people are socked in to the marine layer, and well, frankly, I'm jealous many times. I wish we had more marine layer, but it gives us a lot more sun than other places. And the benefit of that is that's how plants make food for themselves. They eat the sun, they make energy from the sun. So, okay. Just a couple more little ideas here. One idea is to
We need a photo.
Oh, no photo? Oh,
There we go.
okay, you see, okay.
Yep.
Okay, so one other idea is to reduce the watering at certain times on certain plants. So this is this is advanced, like really nuanced stuff. But what you can do with some plants is, for example, onions and garlic. On the left row, those are onions. On the right, those are garlic plants. We generally grow those through the winter in Southern California. So this photo was taken in February. The plants look green and healthy, right? But come around April, they're going to start getting kind of yellowish leaves at the bottom, and the bulb of the onion is going to be showing above the dirt, and it's going to be starting to look big. At that time, you can cut off the irrigation. You can just totally stop irrigating the plants, and they will continue to mature and eke out whatever moisture there is in the dirt, still make a large bulb, and there's your harvest in early May. So that photo was taken in early May when I harvested those onions. But I cut off the irrigation a couple weeks before I harvested. Saves a little bit of water. and it works. It actually helps with harvest too, because if you water if you water too long, so to speak, you can get some rot in those onion bulbs and garlic bulbs too. Some other plants you can do this to are potatoes. As soon as the potato plant starts to get yellow leaves, and you know that the tubers are full size or almost full size at least, and you can cut off the water, let that plant just sort of die off, and the soil will dry out. It'll be easier to harvest the potatoes, and the potatoes will still be full size and healthy. Okay, I think this is my second to last idea.
We need a photo.
Oh, bummer. This is a cool photo too. Can you see
There
it?
it is. I see it.
All right. These are my kids eating their cauliflower. I encourage you to grow more vegetables through the winter, fall, winter, spring, because mainly because we get free irrigation at that time of year. You know, even if we don't get a lot, we get some rain every year, and it saves on watering. And so all the plants that you can grow through the winter, grow a lot of them, because that's how we make the most of our our situation, our climate. So in addition to cauliflower, you grow onions through the winter, and you grow carrots through the winter. Can you see the photo?
Yes.
Yeah. So you might sow carrots around now. In fact, I just sowed some carrots yesterday, and you'll have to water them to get them germinating. But once we get our first rains, you basically back off, and the rain will oftentimes take care of it until you harvest. If you sow your carrots like around December, January, especially if you sow them right before a rain, you might be able to not water those carrots at all and get a full crop for free, so to speak. Even tomatoes. You know, tomatoes are a warm season summer crop.
No photo.
Oh boy.
There we go.
Okay, I'll make that a habit. And we grow tomatoes through the summer, right? But ideally, you start planting them in late winter or really early spring. And there's still some rain, and there's a lot of soil moisture from the rain at that time of year. And I've even played with what they call dry farming tomatoes, and you don't get that much of a harvest. You don't get as much of a harvest compared to an irrigated crop. But you can even grow tomatoes without any irrigation if you start them early enough, and we get a decent amount of rainfall. Okay, one thing that can help in that is using mulch. When I think mulch, I mostly think of this stuff, which is tree trimmings, arborists, wood chips. It's just ground up trees, the wood and the leaves. And they've done studies that have found that you can, if you have mulch under your plants, you can water around 20% less than if there's just bare ground. The main reason for that is that you reduce the evaporation. The water sort of percolates down below the mulch, and the sun can't evaporate it as much as it can evaporate the moisture at the top of bare ground. Another benefit of mulch is that you don't get runoff when there's rain in the winter. One of the same studies on mulch, they had a big hillside that was mulched, and they found almost zero erosion from the whole hillside because of that mulch. How do you mulch? Well, you can, on the left, well, can you see, hopefully, the photo on the left? Those are some fruit trees in my yard in the winter. So some of them have lost their leaves, but you just spread those wood chips under the tree, and you can do the same with vegetables. You can also use compost for mulch under vegetables, which is a little bit better than wood chips sometimes because it's less habitat for pill bugs and earwigs and slugs and snails. So you can use wood chips or compost as mulch under vegetables. All right, so I think this is my last slide. Where will your rain go this winter? In other words, when it rains on your yard and your house, does it run off the roof down to some downspouts and onto the driveway and out to the street and into the storm drains? Does it go into rain barrels? Does it soak into the mulch and feed your trees and your plants? As much as we talk about being careful with irrigation water, we need to remember that a whole lot of water falls for free every winter. Even a single inch of rain is about 600 gallons on 1,000 square foot roof. That's a lot of water. So just remember to make the most of the rain that falls as well, because it's free and it's almost pure. And that's my last idea. Okie doke. Thank you very much. And maybe there are a few questions.
So everybody, rather than using the chat, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask Greg the questions that way, because we have a small enough group that should be able to work.
Hey, Greg, this is Mark. I'll go first since it's quiet. Thank you for your presentation. I'm actually a backyard gardener who uses containers because we happen to live in a place that doesn't really, we have a concrete backyard, frankly, but we do get sun, and I use containers, like bottom watering containers. And I was curious of your thoughts on using mulch in a container kind of garden setting. Would you recommend that as well, or do you think it would even make any difference with such a small kind of volume? And considering that, I suppose the sun kind of hits the sides of the plastic containers as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really cool question. I used to use containers a lot, and I've actually been using them more lately than I have in the last some years. And so, but yeah, no, you're right. So some mulch does help for sure, still in containers at the top. But just as you said, what I found the most benefit from is sort of mulching the south and, well, it depends on where they're at, where the containers are at, but basically mulching the sides of the container. So the way I've done that is I've used, those reed fences that you can buy like at Home Depot or something? Those little reed fences? Yeah, what I do is
ornamental.
I just cut those up to the size, like to the height of the container, and I wrap the container in that. And and it shades the sides of the container, which, on a black pot, for example, will get extremely hot, especially if it's over concrete. And so you can shade the sides of the container, and you'll find, like, I'm sure you found this, if you take a plant out of a container, you'll often find that there are a bunch of roots on the north side and there are next to none on the south side, because it's so hot, it's just baking that soil on the south side of the container. And so you can sort of shade that south side and get, I suppose, more roots and a healthier system, and maybe maybe get away with a little less water too.
Makes sense.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Big fan of your blog and your calendar. Thanks a lot, Greg.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Cool.
Oh, hi, Greg. This is Donna. Thanks for your presentation. A great one. I was wondering what you would recommend too to help improve the soil, so that it would take in more water. I mean, our soil is so hard and packed, and do you do a lot of supplements to your soil, or
Yeah.
suggest?
I'm a pretty big believer in, well, it kind of depends. Are you thinking vegetables or fruit trees or other stuff?
Well, actually both, and other stuff, even with the native plants that I put around the house, and it's just, I have a lot of trouble with them, and the big issue this year is another topic, gophers. So.
Yeah. All right, maybe we'll do mulch first and then gophers, or not mulch, sorry, but like amending the soil and such. I like wood chips for fruit trees, native plants and such. It's what you find is if you pack it on thick, especially at first, like at least 4-6 inches, and then you sort of replenish it as necessary, you'll find that the soil underneath gets far softer and darker and like, full of worms and such, and full of roots actually. Within a year or so, that those wood chips are almost magical at transforming the soil, so to speak, and making it, giving it a better, infiltration rate, and just a better, what they call tilth. It'll just feel better, but it takes a little while. It might take a year or so, but it'll start feeling a lot better. But under vegetables, I used to do a lot of wood chips, and now I'm preferring compost a little more. But you can do it either way. They both help a ton. But I primarily add a lot of compost to the surface of the vegetable beds, and that increases it'll reduce the runoff whenever you're watering your plants or we get a rain, and it'll ultimately make the soil below have a lot better structure, and you just got to keep putting it on though, especially if you got a sandy soil, it just eats up the compost. So you just got to keep laying it on. If you've got a clayey soil, then you don't have to really put on as much as often, but you still got to keep a solid layer of compost on the top there. Yeah, does those ideas help at all?
Yes, they have. I mean, we've been composting and putting also to the mulch, but it's just some areas especially are just such hard soil, and just keep hoping for more rain.
Yeah. Well, is it just hard this time of year, or is it that the soil is hard, like even under the mulch all the time still after?
Most all the time. Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah.
That's weird. I don't know. I've never seen mulch not work, so to speak. but maybe more time is needed. I don't know.
And well, probably the areas we have a lot of oak trees around, and those areas under the older, the oak trees, that ground is very well mulched. Yeah, from the leaves and all.
Yeah, I love that stuff under the oak trees. In fact, sometimes I use it in my own compost, because it's like, especially if you get under the top layer of like whole oak leaves and you get into the little broken down oak leaves down below. Oh my gosh, that soil is beautiful down there. Yeah.
Greg, I've never done this. I've only read about it, is taking shredded paper and mixing it in with the mulch to help, aerate the soil. Have you ever tried that, or is that a good idea?
I've never really used, I can't say I've ever used shredded paper. No. But
We've done it a little bit because we have a paper shredder, and I read about it in Brad Lancaster's book, Rain Harvesting and Beyond. And he was showing how to plant trees and then just tape all your junk mail and then crumple it up, put it in the hole, and then put the tree in and then fill it in with dirt, and then the paper will break down after a while.
Interesting. I have Brad Lancaster's book and I don't remember that. But no, that's interesting. I've never heard that particular idea. I'll have to go try to find it in his books. Yeah.
Do you have a paper shredder, Donna?
Oh, yes, we shred everything on there. We've done also too the roundhouse that lasagna preparation of the soil, where you can put cardboard and then you put compost and then you put mulch. That takes a while, especially with the cardboard to break down, but that does help, So, and we always throw the paper too in our compost pile, along with all the vegetable trimmings and all.
Right.
So, but maybe, Greg, do you have any good suggestions on the gopher control and even rabbits and squirrels? It's like,
Yeah. There are too many of those little critters, too many competitors, right? It depends on your situation. I can tell you what I do, but it's not best for everyone. What I do is I just I use a trap called a cinch trap, CINCH, and I've gotten pretty good with the trap, and I have just basically eliminated gophers from my yard. They come back every year, but it's very easy to spot their new mounds, and I can catch them pretty quickly. And so that's what I do. I don't think I've lost a plant to a gopher in probably 3 or 4 years at least. But another alternative is, if you're planting fruit trees, for example, plant them in one of those gopher baskets. I've seen it work well. If you're growing vegetables, I would go for raised beds with hardware cloth underneath. If you don't want to do the trapping, yeah, those are the solutions that I've seen for gophers.
Is the cinch trap, is that the one with the tube that has the wire that you push down on, and then it sort of pops up when it captures the gopher? I've always used Maccabee traps, and I've not had much luck with the Maccabees this year. But I think I'm getting to the gopher hole after they've done their damage and are gone.
Yeah, it's tricky at first because the gophers have been making tunnels, and they've got your whole yard is just full of tunnels at first. But once you get a handle on it, then you can spot a new one right away and take care of it right away. But I've used the Maccabees in the past, but I don't like them as well as the cinch traps. And what you were describing with the tube might be what they call a gophernator.
That's what it's called. I hadn't seen it except for this year, and a friend had been using it, and he really liked it, but I haven't been able to be successful with it.
Yeah, I've heard people have good success with it, but I actually have never used that one myself.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Keep trying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, pests. They're. Yeah. I'm still struggling with all of them too. There's no perfect way to get around it. You just, you're always, but I do think that the longer I go with it, the more I become a fan of barriers and just trying to keep them out in some way. So if I were growing vegetables with a big gopher problem, I would just use raised beds with a hardware cloth underneath, you know?
Okay.
And if I had a big rabbit problem and I didn't want to deal with rabbits in another way, put up a little poultry wire fence around your vegetables or whatever, and then you just fence them out, you know?
Greg Tomoko, it just disappeared. Let me see if I can bring up, it must be in the chat. Any better repellent or trap for mice or rats? I have no luck with live trap this year somehow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are tough ones. You know, I had some mice and rats last year, basically for the first time, and it's because we lost our cat. And as soon as we got new cats, the problem disappeared. Really, the best solution for mice and rats is a good cat. Not all cats are good cats in that way. You know, some cats, for whatever reason, don't hunt. But if you get a good cat, that's by far the best solution. If you have to trap or repel, I've never heard of any repellents that work, so I don't know anything about that. In terms of traps, I've had good success with just the classic Victor traps. But I'm trying to think. I know a friend was using another kind of rat trap that was working really well for him, but I can't now recall what it's called. So sorry, but yeah, the old Victor traps, they work very well. Unfortunately, those mice and rats, you never have just one. If you've got some, you've got a lot of them, and so it takes a while before you can kill them all off. So you got to trap well, and you've got to trap consistently for a long time before you kind of eliminate them.
I can throw in that with the rats and the mice, I used a live trap and I made it with peanut butter. And yes, you have to be consistent with it all the time. And I've gotten to the point, sometimes I'll call it a big mama rat that I'll get. And I keep thinking, I'm going to mark this thing because I keep thinking it's coming back. And we do relocate them quite a ways away. But I read that you do need to go on some of them 2 miles away because they will come right back to where you're at.
Wow.
So
2 miles. Wow.
We had some friends that were marking what they were catching. I think it was squirrels though, and same thing, they were coming back.
Wow. Yeah.
I think they're all getting desperate too because of the drought. I think we have more pests because of the lack of water.
Yeah, well, I know that for example, I have a lot of rabbits that I deal with with my vegetables, and whenever so like right now is the time of year when you can start sowing carrots and peas again, and since the weeds are all kind of dried up and there's not much delicious green vegetation around, I really have to protect these first sowings. Just mow them all down the first night. But then later in the winter, like say February, you can almost sow that stuff unprotected, and the rabbits they have so much other stuff to eat that they don't even really eat them. So it does depend on the time of year too. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Can I say something to Wei Ling? Are you listening, Wei
Yes, I am.
I'm still picking white peaches right now.
Oh my God,
They're
Maya,
awesome.
did you like them?
Yeah, they are unique. I've never eaten a peach like them.
Oh, I'm so glad. Maya long gone.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, I'm surprised at how long mine are hanging on. I've been eating them for a couple weeks at least, and they're still hanging. Yeah.
But just too many and too small.
Oh, are yours too small? Yeah. Mine weren't very small, but I didn't have very many.
Oh,
Maybe
mine
that's it.
are a lot. And you know what? I couldn't eat them because I had all that pest thing going and I didn't get to eat it.
Oh,
Yeah.
So sad. So sad. Every year is the same thing that we're. But I'm very glad and thank you so much for letting me know.
Yeah.
It's my father's tree.
Yeah. Yeah, for everyone else, Wei Ling sent me a scion, a stick from a special peach tree of hers that has white flowers and white, like totally white fruit, white skin and white flesh. It's a really neat peach.
I've never seen one like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye, Mark. Thanks.
Mark.
Yeah, really interesting. So fun.
Well,
For the people who wanted to know what kind of trap to use for rats and the squirrels, the tube is absolutely the best.
The tube trap?
Yeah.
Okay.
The tube trap is absolutely the best. And also, what is it? Peanut butter and vitamin D for the rats.
Uh-uh.
Vitamin D. And so that's kind of like so that if you want to just give them something to kill them, peanut butter and vitamin D, so that if when the rat dies and the bird eats it, the bird doesn't die.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Vitamin D.
Huh.
what does the vitamin D do to the rat?
I think it coagulates their blood.
Okay.
So that's the natural way, like so it doesn't affect other animals that eat the rat.
Right.
So vitamin D is the way to go. So you put a lot of powder, vitamin D powder, or because I'm lazy, I just put the little pills, the gel pill, and I just put it all in, and they eat it. But I still have them once in a while. They still come around.
Do you have a dog? Tomoko is saying that vitamin D is not good for dogs.
Oh no, I don't have a dog.
Your neighbors have dogs anymore? I'm just kidding.
So I don't have to worry. But the dog wouldn't eat a rat.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
You see, you have to put it where the rats are, not where the dog is. So also.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, thank you for letting me know about the peach because just I didn't get to eat much this year. So you tell me what's your secret?
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. The funny thing is that white peach is on a multi-grafted peach tree.
Yeah.
And it is doing better than any of the other peaches or nectarines. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It's a strange tree. It didn't have a very good year, but your white peach did the best. I don't know why. Yeah.
Aggressive.
Yeah, I guess it's aggressive. Yeah.
Aggressive. Well, thank thank you so much for letting me know. And if you want the plant, I mean, I am growing some plants for the CRFG.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
so,
good idea.
Yeah, I give them away as well. So, but we haven't had any sales, so I'm stuck with a lot of plants.
They'll be huge by the time you get to sell them.
I know. It was very successful last year. They had a sale online and they were very successful. And my peaches just went off like 15 of them.
Oh, good.
15
That's great.
plants. So I anticipate the same thing this year, but they decided not to have it. So I'm stuck with 15 peaches.
Yeah.
Well, for any of you that are on tonight that didn't get on our earlier presentations, they're all being recorded. So Greg's presentation tonight is going to be recorded, and you can go to Sustainable Ramona's YouTube page. It takes a while for us to upload it to that, so it may not be there for a day or two. And last night we heard from Eric Snodgrass and how climate and temperatures and stuff are affecting agriculture. He did a great job. The night before that, it was Jim Hickel, who was the president of the Ramona Water Board. And the night before that didn't get recorded. There was a glitch with that. But we had Laura Allen talking about using gray water in your house, a laundry to landscape system to water your plants. And yes, you can water edible plants, just not root plants, but you can water your fruit trees and your vegetables with your gray water if you use the right kind of detergents and soaps and things. So, and unfortunately, hers didn't get recorded, but the other ones will, with Greg's, be on our Sustainable YouTube channel. So if you want to share these with your friends, we want to just get the word out so everybody's, doing the right thing because of the drought being so severe. So are there any other questions? Liz, if you can show the slide again or post it on your website. Are you talking about Greg's slide or Sustainable Ramona?
I think she's talking about the slide about how much to water vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah, about the watering the vegetables. I missed that section.
Yeah. I will. My plan, we'll see if it all works. My plan is to post all the slides on my website tomorrow.
Oh, good.
It might be a little delayed. Someone has hacked into the server for my website, and so it's down, and trying to get it all fixed up. But as soon as it is, I'll post all the slides on there. Yeah, and if you are, but are you? If you're closer, what my slide is a little bit specific to inland locations. So if you're closer to the ocean, you're going to need a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in Orange County.
Where at in Orange County, approximately? Tustin? Okay. You're just like, Tustin's just like a little bit less than us.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We also have a place in Ojai, and that's pretty much like what you have in Ramona, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I often keep track of Ojai weather because I like to, it's very similar to Ramona.
Yeah.
So I like to compare. They get like, it's also a little cold in the winters sometimes, like we are, relatively, like for avocados and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. It's about 10 degrees hotter in the summer than in Orange County, and it gets much colder in the winter. This is for Upper Ojai.
Yeah.
But I like the tip with the soil underneath the oak trees that, to use that for planting, because we have 4 big oak trees on our property. And there are tons of leaves, and everybody said, don't put them in your compost because they don't break down.
No, they are wonderful for your compost.
Oh,
they're so airy and fluffy. And in fact, if you look at old gardening books, they, before they had bagged potting soil that you could buy at the nursery or whatever, would make their own potting soil. And what they would often use as an ingredient was what they call leaf mold, which is basically just like partially decomposed leaf litter from under trees. And you when I used to make like my own potting mixes or still these days, I'll get some of that partially broken down leaf litter from under the oaks, and it's great. It's great stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I will try that, definitely.
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
Very informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
And Ward is asking about your website. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're asking about Greg's or ours, but I'll let Greg explain his.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure. I'll just type mine in and then he can.
Now, the leaves do work. I grew up near Niagara Falls, and my dad was an incredible gardener. And we had the house I grew up in was built in 1875, so the maple trees were just huge, and we would have huge piles of leaves, and we would rake them on sheets of plastic and drag the sheets of plastic out to the garden and then turn them over, and then the snow would come in the winter and break them down. And then my dad would get his cousin's tractor and turn it under, in like March or April when it was still wet, but it hadn't not time for planting yet, and it was great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will work on those oak leaves. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to also watch the other presentations. So they are on YouTube under.
I'll type it in right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So it's called Sustainable Ramona. We have a Facebook page, we have a website, and then we have a YouTube channel. And this is just one of the many topics that we're interested in. So water conservation, because it's so important, but we have just a really neat group of people. We have an architect that will help you answer questions about retrofitting your house to make it more energy efficient. My husband's retired from the solid waste industry and knows things about recycling and reusing. I'm interested in water conservation. Walt, that's recording this tonight, he is interested in microgrids and solar. So we've just got a group that's got a really wonderful flavor to it and a lot of experience. And we just want to share what we know so that it's just a better world for all of us.
Yes, that's cool. That's very good. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So anything else before we close tonight? This has been really good, Greg, to interact with the questions. I'm glad that you left that time at the end. I think we're all done.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Wei Ling. Thanks everybody else. This was a lot of fun. I hope we get a bunch of rain this winter.
Yes, we need to pray for that.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
No fires, all rain.
Yes. That would be perfect. Well, thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Joyce.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and keep looking on our website for future presentations.
Here.
Good night.